It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Will Wright to the From the Club podcast. Thanks so much for coming on, Will.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Will, tell us everything we need to know about you in 60 seconds.
Uh, where to start? Professional footballer. Um, Professional footballer, playing in League Two, worked my way up through non-league. Um, Avid golfer, keen golfer, good player, I like to think. Um, and I don't know, really. There's not really a lot going on. Getting married next summer. Been with my fiance for over 10 years, or coming up to 10 years, actually. I better correct that. So, yeah, I've not got a family yet, but probably a family man would probably be the best way to describe me. There's not a lot really going on, to be honest.
Well, you underbaked the golfing claim because I heard you on the Life of a Kitman podcast, and you actually claimed that you think that you're the best golfer in the EFL, if I remember right.
Yeah, so you've done your homework there. Yeah. I mean, I'm a scratch golfer, so still trying to get that lower. I've never been past +1, so that's my goal really. To try and get as low as possible. Yeah. So, but I'll back myself, I think, against any football golfer in the football league if the time
Mate, that's
comes.
quality. Over the years, there's been a few, hasn't there, that's tried to
Mm.
transition into golf. I know Julian Dick's tried to. I
Mm.
think there's been some more recently than that as well. So, could you see that as a after football
I
career?
mean, yeah, I mean, I could play. I'd like to think I could play in sort of the lower tours probably now how I'm playing, but to get to the likes of the PGA Tour, you have to be a different
Yeah,
breed.
yeah,
I think it's probably similar in the way of football. Like some of my pals that play Sunday League probably think they're good footballers, but you put them in a football league game and they'll be nowhere near the level. It's kind of like that, really. I've got a close mate of mine he's on a South African tour, trying to work his way onto the European tour, and he's miles ahead of where I am. He
right,
pummels
okay,
me when I play against him, but then
yeah,
he's probably a good few shots away from reaching the European tour. Like there's just gradual levels to,
levels, yeah, yeah,
like there is in all sport really. But I mean, I could probably compete for 9 holes maybe, but at the end of the day, it's over 72 holes, and if I'm 2 shots behind after day one, and that continues for 4 days, I'm 8 shots back, so I've got no chance.
yeah,
And that's me on a good day. So
yeah.
I don't know, maybe with a bit of practice and a bit more time spent on it, you never know. But I mean, to get to the top, it's just a different level.
Well, in the meantime, you can just enjoy pummeling all your mates whenever you play them, can't you, for fun? So,
Well, yeah,
uh,
that's the goal, really. But that's the beauty of golf as well. Like the handicap system, for those that don't know, it levels it out, and I could play against a 20 handicapper and have a good game. It's just that's what
yeah,
it's there for. So that's why I quite
yeah,
like it, and I
yeah,
de-stress away from football. I don't think about football for 4 hours, and it's just a nice pastime, really.
yeah. Well, Will, you were born in Luton. What was life like growing up north?
Yeah, well, it's actually that's wrong. I was born in Flitwick, so I was actually house-born.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I didn't make it to hospital. I come out quick, I suppose. But yeah, I had a great upbringing. My parents they started a business when I was young, so we didn't have money when I was younger, and then slowly they started creating a successful business, and they're doing really well from it now. So I've also had that in my life where I've seen how hard it was for them at an early age to be successful.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, the repercussions that come with that, and it's probably shown in my football career really, where I've had troubles as well, and you get through them, and then there's more success that comes along the way. So with sort of their business life is probably does resemble my football career in a way too. So I was fortunate. I played all sorts of sport, football, golf, cricket, bit of rugby until you started tackling really got a bit too aggressive for me. Um, but my mum's side are a really big rugby side, so I grew up at a rugby club really, and then obviously found myself trying to play football, and I sort of put it down to two sports really, football and golf, and football took off, and the golf stayed just behind, but obviously the football's gone where nearly where I'd hoped to go, and just enjoying that ride now.
Yeah. Well, you're one of those really annoying people that seems to be good at everything, right? I'm like the opposite. I'm like rubbish at everything, but you're like,
Yeah, in the sporting world, don't get me wrong. There's so many other things I wish I was good at as well. Like you asked me to change a light bulb in a house, I can't do nothing. But you asked me to put a ball in a hole from 10 feet, I've got a good chance.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it's just one of them things. It's some
yeah,
people want to be good at sport, and I'm lucky that I am. But then there's some things that I see some of my mates do that I think, God, I'd love to be able to do that as well. So
yeah.
it's just one of them things.
Horses for courses, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
That's right. I've heard people joke before and call you posh. Do you think that's because you had a butler when you were growing up?
Yeah, only from when I was about 13, 14, like I just said there. None of that when I was the butler when I was younger. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, the business took off. And then all of a sudden, I got people walking around my house that I've never met before that are just cleaning my plates up when I'm done. I don't know. I said in the Kitmen podcast, I can sometimes put on a play of words and a slight tone change in my voice to sort of play on that. I've sort of early on in my career when people call me posh, I used to not take offence, but I'd be like, I'm not posh. Like, I'd always fight it, and then
Yeah.
sometimes now I just play on it, and yeah, it's just something that
Yeah.
I've learned to grow with over the years.
Yeah. At what age growing up did you start kicking a ball? When did you realise that you were really good?
Well, looking back at photos, I always had a ball in hand or at feet. From when I could walk, really, even before I could walk, there was footballs. My old man's a big football man. Never played at a real high level, but just love football, love watching it, love playing. So I suppose whenever he had 5 minutes with me, it involved the football. So um, yeah, I mean, like I said, with my career, really, I was never really one of the top ones as a kid. Always sort of middle of the pack, and that showed by not getting into clubs or getting released by clubs. And I was actually about 14, 15 where golf really did take over. And I'd been released and I wanted to stop playing football to pursue golf. And it was actually my mum that sat me down and just said, look, let's try one more thing. And it was the Luton Pre-Academy, where obviously I wanted to be in the academy. And I know sometimes academy boys look down at these kids and you can get a hard run really with it, and like they're looking down on you, and you want to be in the academy. So I didn't want to go to a pre-academy, and she didn't make me go, but she pushed me towards it, and I gave in. And I met a coach there along the way that I still speak to now, a guy called Joe Deeney, who I just fell in love with football again, fell in love with the way he coached, and he really gave me that love again for the game. And yeah, then golf went back on the back burner, and football took over again.
Yeah, well, shout out to Mum for that one
Yeah,
last
yeah,
push.
she's
Yeah,
another
well,
shout out there.
yeah, it must have been a funny time because I put myself in your shoes as a kid. Obviously you're playing football, you're enjoying it with your mates, and then you must start hearing these rumblings of scouts, coming to watch you, and
Mm.
obviously when the talks with Luton started happening. What do you remember about that time, and how did you keep your feet on the ground?
Yeah, it's hard. I went in quite fairly early, I suppose, into Russian and Diamonds before they folded. And obviously you're playing academy stuff. And then once we come out, it was actually my old man, one of my pals from Rushton, his dad as well. That they set up a local side, and obviously Sunday League back then you actually playing for points, and whereas obviously the academy boys are playing friendlies every weekend, and it was sort of that they tried to take us down that route to give us that slight edge on academy boys, where we're actually, although like it doesn't really matter because you're a kid, but you're playing in a league system, you can win things, you can win trophies, you go to little tournaments and you can win those, whereas the academy boys weren't really getting that. So we did that sort of 14, 15, and then that sort of gives you that competitive edge. And I think that's sometimes where you see a lot of lads nowadays that are coming through non-league that are fighting for points week in, week out, that kind of end up getting this edge on these academy boys.
Yeah, I mean, for all the positives there were being associated with Luton, obviously then comes this real blow at the end of your time with them, where they tell you that they're going to be letting you go. What does that process look like, and how did you cope with the emotions of being told that?
Yeah, it's really tough, especially when it's someone that you've worked for probably 5-6 years. By that point, they ran a college scheme alongside the club where you're still under the sort of Luton Town bracket, but you're not really Luton Town players. But so I went and did that, and that was actually linked with Hitchin Town, which is where I obviously went on to play games there. So I thought I'm probably not going to get in Luton set up through this, but I can get myself in the shop window for local non-league clubs. And at 16, 17, you never know, if you start playing men's football and get regular games, it can happen quickly where you end up back in the professional game. Albeit I wouldn't see myself as being in the professional game at that point. So yeah, and alongside that, it gave me some BTEC qualifications that I was never academically smart, really. I struggled in school to sort of retain any information that didn't grip me. There'd be certain lessons with certain teachers that it'd be random lessons. Say I had a nice teacher in geography that I'd be gripped, but then I could go to science and you haven't got me. I'll be playing Football Manager on my phone, and every parents' evening teachers will be saying like, he's such a lovely lad, but I just can't get him to concentrate. But I quickly learned at a young age that it's not. Yeah, it is my fault, but it's also the teacher's fault in a way that they couldn't grip me, because when I was gripped, I understood it and I could get good grades, really. But I knew I was never going to do A levels. I was never going to go to university. I couldn't concentrate on that. So I went down the BTEC route, ended up getting a personal training qualification as well. So again, in sport, really. And yeah, it worked. So here we are today.
The school system's so broken, isn't it? Because you're taught so much random stuff at school, all set up just to pass an exam. And the second that you leave the school system, you can literally forget 99% of what you've been taught in school. Whereas,
exactly, yeah.
You leave the school system and like we haven't been taught, like you said earlier on, how to do a light bulb or,
exactly,
how to do a tax return, the stuff you actually need to know. What does APR mean?
Exactly. I can't even do my own tax return now. Still, I have to send it to a company that I have to pay to do. It doesn't really give you the life skills that you really need, but you can solve an algebra equation that I guess you'll need eventually down the line.
I'm 45 and I'm yet to come up with that challenge in real life.
It's to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, if you didn't become a professional footballer, what do you reckon you would have gone into? You obviously mentioned the family business. Do you think you would have gone down that route, or did you have a passion in anything else?
I probably wouldn't have gone down that route. It's in construction, and I've got no interest in construction, to be honest with you. I just never saw it as a thing that I would do. My old man actually used to take me out on site when I was younger at a weekend. When you back then, when you could, obviously it's so health and safety now.
Yeah.
And he'd warn me. I'd do an hour, and he'd be like, "This is what your life's going to be if you don't knuckle down, if you don't go to the gym, eat the right stuff, you don't do the right things off the pitch. This is going to be your life." And I knew then instantly I didn't want to do that. Don't get me wrong, you can make a great living, but it was just never going to be what I wanted to do. And I got given really a year after college at Hitchin, where I didn't get a job. My parents supported me and they said, "Look, have one last crack. Let's do everything right. Gym during the day, eat all the right stuff." They really supported me with that. And luckily for me, it ended up me getting the move to Colchester. So it paid off. But I think if nothing happened in that year to 18 months, I'd have had to look at something else. And I probably would have had a right crack at golf. Again, I probably wouldn't have been at the level to make real money, really. I'll probably be still struggling now on the lower tours, trying to make ends meet, really. But if not, I probably would have stayed in sport again and probably gone down the fitness route and tried to open my own gym or something like that. I'd need to stay in like an active role, really.
Yeah. I want to pick up on that because you mentioned obviously your big break came, going to Colchester United in terms of becoming a professional footballer, but you come through the route of non-league. And I'm a massive fan of non-league. My local team, Eastbourne Borough, down here, we go and watch a lot and speak to a lot of non-league footballers. And I'm really interested. So how helpful was that season of your life in helping you become both the man and the player that you are today?
Massive. Not even just on the pitch, to be honest. Off the pitch, some of the stuff that goes on will open your eyes now, let alone when you're a 17-year-old lad walking into a changing room. I mean, I was very fortunate as well that I was at Biggleswade United, and it took me up until Christmas to get out of the reserves back then. I couldn't get a game. Obviously, as a 16-year-old centre-half, I wasn't going to be trusted in a league situation. It took me a long time to become trusted, but Again, off the pitch there, we still got a group chat now on WhatsApp that um, it's probably 5 or 6 times a year where we speak again. But I think that shows sort of the group that we had off the pitch, that we're still all in touch. And then on to Hitchin, that group chat's one of my most regular. Although I don't speak a lot in there, but the group chat's always active. Already, well, today earlier on, the manager Mark Burke, who's not Hitchin manager anymore, but was the manager for all of us back then. He's just asked if anyone fancies a beer after the game on Saturday. So it just shows again what we had off the pitch. I think it's called the Hitchin now is that he had under his realm. He's added, so there's 80, 90 footballers in this group chat that he sends the results in every Saturday. So lads that have scored, he puts congratulations. You've got lads that have played in the Premier League. You've got lads that are playing Sunday League now. But again, it just shows sort of off the pitch, like that camaraderie that was built there. Just again, how far that's helped me of my career is probably now where I've changed clubs quite regularly over the last 4 or 5 years, where you can walk into a building and be relaxed, because it wasn't the case when I went to Dagenham when I was younger.
Yeah.
It's hard constantly changing. You think, I don't like, part of the job is doing that, and if you can't do that and adapt quick, then you will struggle. It's something that as I've got older, sort of I found a lot easier, as you sort of trust your ability, I suppose, because you're getting judged on day one. But if you trust in your own ability, that also helps as well. But it's definitely stood me in good stead.
Yeah, I love that, mate. I love that. It's funny because, I'm sure fans wonder about all of these things, and you just touched on the WhatsApp group, and, I'm sure for every club that you've been to, there's been a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
How awkward is it when, someone leaves and the admin's got to remove that person out of the group? What does that kind of look like?
Nowadays, really, obviously, you will probably know that a deal is getting done now with medicals. That probably would have there'll be talk of it happening, really, unless it's like a last minute shock and you're like, oh my god, he's gone.
Yeah.
But really now they'll put a message in. They'll probably thank all the lads. Like they'll say that they've met friends for life, and a sort of a nice message to the group, and then everyone will sort of, you probably get 10 to 15 replies where everyone's saying good luck with like the next 2 years, thanks for everything, and then they'll just leave themselves. It won't really be a kicked out, unless it's like a staff group where the staff will have to get them out, because we might put tactical stuff in a group chat, sure. Or we might put set plays in there. We might put our GPS stats in there, where you never know, they might go to a League Two club, a fellow League Two club, and you might have them in 4 weeks. So they might, you never know. It might be like the manager will ask them straight away, so how do they do this? How do they do that? And he might go, oh, actually, I've got it on the group chat. So they've got to get rid of them. But inside the players' chat, it's a bit more laid back, really, and you probably will just wish them well, and then eventually they'll just leave themselves.
Yeah. Great stuff. Will, you're comfortable playing both right back and centre back. Have you got a preference as to where you like playing best?
I prefer playing centrally. Just feel like I'm more involved in the game there. And I think if I'm going to prolong my career playing wise, I think you'll add more years playing centrally than obviously how demanding the game is nowadays. I think I'll prolong how many years I can play by playing through the middle, and it's where I feel like I can have an impact on the game more through the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, having defenders that can score goals is a real asset to any club. Is that a part of your game that comes naturally, or have you had to work at that?
Probably a bit of both, to be honest. Probably naturally, in terms of when I was a kid, I wanted to be a striker, as I'd imagine every kid, apart from maybe a goalie. Where I wanted to be a striker, and then I dropped down to a midfield position. Then I went out wide. Then you end up at fullback, and then you end up at centre back, and you've sort of just crept further. But as kids get more talented, what happened to me is where I stretched out and I become 6'3", you kind of then put in a mould. You're either a target man, I suppose, or a centre half, really. I think I always wanted to score goals as a kid. And did fairly well at that at youth level, really. I didn't really start playing centre back till I was about 16. So it was once I was at Dagenham at 21, it was still fairly new to me playing in that position. I'd not played it that long, really. There's probably still some sort of goal scoring instincts there, but there's also obviously stuff that you are working on, little finishing drills that you try and join in on, or in my case, obviously set plays where it is practice work and it's repetitions, and that's something that I have worked on.
Yeah. One goal that comes to mind is that incredible equaliser against Chesterfield, opening game of the season. I
Yeah.
mean, as fans, I know you know this. Like, there's nothing like seeing your team score, your hero score a goal. How do you describe the emotions of actually being that player scoring that
Mm.
goal in that moment, Will?
Yeah, I don't know really. I suppose when it first goes in, it kind of feels like there's probably no emotion because you're just thinking, oh my god, that's gone in, and you sort as you sort of wheeling away, and then you see, for my instance, the away end erupt, and I get that moment where I sort of pause and I'm sort of panning, and I can see how much it means to people. I think that's probably the moment there where you you probably don't at the time realize what you've just done. It's moments then, like if we watch the goal back now, you probably give you goosebumps in the sense that look how many people you are making happy. That's especially the first game of the season where they've probably waited for football for 2 months. They've had the heartbreak of England over the summer, and they want their football fix back again. And for it to be me that scored, it definitely is a nice feeling.
Yeah, because you do regularly score goals, you obviously know that you're going to score again pretty much soon. Do
Oh,
you already
hopefully.
do you prepare a celebration? Like you're already sort of thinking ahead, thinking next time I score, I'm going to do a certain, basically, have you got a backflip in your locker that you're going to unleash at some point? Will?
You won't get one of those out of me. We got a little fantasy group chat, so sometimes I'll say to lads, like, if I've got a feeling, sometimes you get a feeling that you're going to score, and I'll say, someone give me something not too hard for me to do, because you obviously got a few, like the Jude celebration for me, which is where I kind of went with the Chesterfield one. That was not pre-planned, but it's always in your mind because I've just seen Liam Kelly do it at Wembley, and it's one of the best photos I've seen. Obviously, Wembley to Chesterfield, no disrespect to Chesterfield, is slightly different, but I kind of wanted my own moment with that as well. But I remember last year, one of the lads at football wanted sort of like the Mbappe where he stands in front of the camera, and unfortunately for the Gillingham fans who did berate me for celebrating, it was that goal that we'd spoken about it in the week, and it just happened to be them. So that was also why I ended up celebrating a little bit. At least it wasn't where I'm shushing the whole Raynham end. It was kind of a subdued celebration, but yeah, sometimes there is, but sometimes like if you plan it and a goal like the Chesterfield one where it's almost come as a surprise, you can't remember what you planned and you just kind of just freewheeling it.
Go crazy, explode.
Mm.
Have you done the golf swing yet?
Nah, only as a goal
Mate, that's
gift,
got to
but
be next.
every club I go at messes up my golf gift as well. The one at Crawley last year, there's a wall in my way, so it kind of stutters up and it doesn't do my golf swing any justice. And this year it was a still photo, so I think my GIF, I'm sort of holding my pose. But maybe that's one that I need to bring
Yeah,
out.
next goal, mate. Corner flag, golf
Yeah,
swing.
you can repost that up then.
We'll look out for it, mate.
Mm.
100%. Yeah. Well, as someone who's obviously experienced the thrill of, like we've just been saying, scoring a goal, but also making match-saving tackles, as a defender, what actually feels better for you?
Got to be scoring a goal. I mean, as a defender, I probably should say a match set. It's difficult because I'm guessing you're referring to the MK Dons tackle maybe on the line.
Yeah, off the line, yeah.
Which, if that's the 93rd minute,
Yeah,
it would be a completely different feeling.
yeah,
Obviously, it's still an up like, and we scored 2 minutes later, and it's such an
yeah,
important game that the feeling of that is massive. But I just don't think you can beat a goal, a winning goal, especially when you get to celebrate in front of your fans. I think that's why we played football as a kid, to run around the park celebrating, pretending to be Steven Gerrard on the TV. For me, like that's why I played golf, played football.
yeah.
Not necessarily to be the one that is tackling at the end, because that's the yeah, that's not what you dream of being as a kid, is it? I suppose, but listen, obviously stopping a goal is a great feeling in itself, but yeah, I just don't think you can top scoring a goal.
Yeah, well, you're one of the lucky few that gets to experience both emotions, don't you? So fair play for that. You mentioned earlier on you went on to play nearly 150 times for Dagenham and Redbridge. How do you look back at that period of your life and career?
Um, Probably in two parts, to be honest. I went there having played no higher than the Southern Prem, albeit I thought I was not a seasoned non-league player, but also not at that level. So my first year I went to Dagenham and they had some real money problems and the team struggled. I probably struggled at times, but it was my first real taste of professional football, really being full time in a man's environment. Really, obviously I had Colchester, but I was in the 23s there, so I don't really count that as a season as a men's pro. But then I felt like I grew over the period. Even then, I got released just as Darryl McMahon come in and COVID happened. He released me straight away, and I just asked him if I could train during the COVID times when we weren't playing, just to stay fit. And he allowed me to do that, and I tried like it was a game every time I trained. And eventually earned myself a new deal. I was pestering him saying, "What's the latest? Have you got any money left? Like, is there anything left in the budget? I'll take anything at this point to stay at the club, just to give myself a chance." And again, it took me a while to get back in the team. He made a load of signings, and a bit like Biggleswade, really, where I didn't play for half a season. I ended up captaining the side once there was injuries. I ended up captaining the side towards the end of the season, and basically playing the next season as vice captain. So I felt like I really grew over my time at Dagenham, and it's a place that I look back with fond memories, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this would be such an inspiration for footballers who are, going through a difficult time at the moment, where they are struggling to get a contract, or, and they're not playing at the level where they want to do. To see you go through these seasons and yet get to where you are now, and also to have the traits that you've got as well. We met you in pre-season and come up, and you've got a natural aura about you where you hadn't been at the club very long, but you come across as a leader almost instantly within a group of, guys. So, fair play to that, Will. It's,
No,
obviously
thank you.
a great thing to have in your locker. Next up was the move to Gillingham and playing under Neil Harris. What was that season like, Will?
Again, tough. So I've been renowned for being a ball playing centre half. Probably, well, still do now. I need to brush up on some of my defensive duels, some of the defensive side, and still I can obviously improve in possession as well. But at the time, I was really renowned for being the one to stop in possession and probably the one to get out of possession in the back four. And I knew that, and I know that now at times as well. Don't get me wrong, but I've made it this far in my career that I know I've got other qualities that completely overload deficiencies, I suppose. And I went there knowing Neil Harris was probably a defensive manager, and I thought, you know what, this is the right time for me to build on sort of the defensive side of my game and really become like the full package, really. It kind of didn't really materialize into how I'd envisioned it. Again, the club had some money problems at the time when we went there, and we really struggled to score goals. And eventually, if you can't score goals, you then go look at your defence. And we started showing some cracks in defence as well, where we couldn't keep clean sheets. And if you can't score and you can't keep clean sheets, there's only one way you're going. I still enjoyed my time there. I've got pals there now that I still speak to regularly. Again, sort of in a social aspect, I suppose, really sort of felt like I flourished in terms of that as well. So it was the first time in 4 years that I went to a new club and sort of threw myself right in the deep end, really, or tried to. There were some big characters there, some older heads that had been there a while and had been in League One when the club was flying high. And obviously, whilst the club was struggling, you can sometimes characters, big strong characters, are tough to sort of get involved with. So all in all, I enjoyed my time, but they made some big signings in my position, and I knew quickly that I was probably going to be third or fourth choice as a right-footed centre half, let alone as I was probably fourth, fifth choice overall centre half. So I knew that I need to get out. I want to play games of football. I'm not going to stay anywhere where I'm not playing. At the end of the day, not that money's the issue, but we don't earn money like the top boys in the Prem. I don't earn enough money to keep me sitting at home and not being mentally strong and being in a good place by playing football, that I'm not going to sit there and not play when I can go out and play. So I knew for me, probably for both parties, it was best that I moved on and sort of landed on my feet at Crawley, really.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a few moments. You mentioned obviously Neil Harris's reputation for being defensively, a defensive mindset. It's strange, isn't it? Because that ultimately, I think, cost him his job because when he ended up getting sacked at Gills, I think he was only a couple of points outside the playoffs, which might have been the season after you left, and
Yeah.
ultimately he ended up getting sacked because of that. I think was it? Did you kind of feel that pressure into because, like you said, you like driving out of defence?
Mm-hmm.
Did you just feel like the shackles were on you a little bit as a defender, not being able to play to your strengths as a defender
Yeah,
during?
I think so. Yeah, it's hard when obviously I'm a strong ball playing centre half who probably needs the ball at feet even to stay concentrated at times in games, when it's completely taken away from you and you're not doing any. Not that it wasn't bad, not doing anything that you love. Like that's why I play football, is to be in
Yeah,
possession, to showcase what I've got talent wise.
yeah,
Obviously, there's other pros that are out of possession pros that love the. Don't get me wrong, I love to dig in and see games out defensively, but my games, I want to be in possession. I want to be playing attacking football, and I think yeah, I didn't get enough moments, or I didn't create enough moments where I could showcase my capabilities really, and then there was moments where it really highlighted my deficiencies, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. Well, like you mentioned, after Gills came the move to Crawley Town, a transfer that brought both you and the team huge success. How
Mm-hmm.
do you look back on last season?
Um, my best season in my career so far. Um, Probably both on the pitch and probably both off the pitch, which again is probably a key reason as to why we were successful and why we got promoted. Because I think at times you could see how close the group was off the pitch, and it really showed at times with some of the football that we played. Again, it got me back in love with the game again, with the style of play. And although we play for success, I even said halfway through the season, I said it's not even about the success for me. This is how I want to play the game. I was back enjoying football, and I think that showed with a group of lads, everyone enjoying themselves, and that is why in the end, in those pressure moments, that really we just stripped it back and just enjoyed the games, especially the playoffs where it is so tense, and we just enjoyed ourselves and end up coming out on top.
Yeah. The manager behind all of this was obviously Scott Lindsay.
Mm.
What's he like as both a man and also to play for?
Intense, great man, open to chat at any point. My granddad actually passed last season during the season, and we had his funeral on a Friday because they couldn't get it on a Wednesday, which is normally how we try and do sort of big family events, I suppose. Not that a funeral is well, it is an event, it's a celebration, but we try and get it on my day off. But unfortunately, we couldn't, so he allowed me the day off to go to my granddad's funeral on probably bar match day, probably the most important day of the week in terms of setting your team up. But he's also so intense with the way he tactically sets the team up that even on a Monday when you're sort of doing like a second day recovery, as most teams do on a Monday, he's straight in, forgetting the Saturday gone, he's straight in working on the Saturday ahead. So you've done all your prep throughout the week, and he sort of readied the week, ready for me to not be there on a Friday. And that's just sort of one example, really. But it's an example that's close to home, that he shows that sort of human side, I suppose, away from football, that he allows you to go and do that. But yeah, I think he's tactically probably well ahead of any managers I'd had before that season, really.
Yeah. And the recruitment was unbelievable, wasn't it? Plucking these gems and
Mm.
from out of nowhere. What was the key behind that? Who was kind of driving that recruitment at Crawley?
Um, I think the owners do have a big say in it. I think it's well documented that they're quite data driven, but I think you can't go away from the final decision is Scott, especially from my experience where I actually was trying not to go to Crawley before I went there. I was trying to go on loan somewhere else, and basically Gillingham wouldn't let me go on loan, which is fair enough. They needed me off the book, so I ended up taking a risk, I suppose, and going to Crawley. But once I'd met Scott, and he had his iPad and he had sheets of paper out. We were having a coffee in in a shopping centre somewhere, and he had it all laid out over the table. He said, "This is where I see you. This is how we'll play." He said, "We're going to have the most possession in the league. We'll have the most passes." And he sort of gripped me straight away. And I thought, you know what, this as a chance, as me taking a risk, this is probably going to be the easiest risk I'll take in my career. And thankfully for me, I took that jump. And I suppose thankfully for Crawley as well, I probably don't do myself enough justice at times where I feel like I played a big part in my role was a big part in the success of the season as well. So it matched both ends really.
Yeah, oh, 100%. I mean, you just have to, there are not many players that leave, and then go back so soon after and get the sort of reception that you did. I mean,
Yeah,
football has a funny way of writing script sometimes, doesn't it? That you got drawn against Crawley away
yeah.
as a Swindon Town player, and the reception that you got was unbelievable. And I know the fans still love you to this day. So that's a testament to everything you've
Mm.
done at the club, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it was amazing. I thought I would get a nice reception, but I wasn't expecting. Um, I mean, it got to the 90th minute, and they'd scored two quick goals, and the game was dead. It was 4-2, and we were never getting back in it after getting ourselves back in it. And out of nowhere, I just hear my song ring around the stadium, and it was a touch of class from them, and it was really nice to hear, really. And I think anyone from last season will get sort of a hero's welcome, I suppose, when they do return. I'm sure Corey he probably got a bigger cheer when he went back on Saturday, having been at the club for longer, and him playing a big part in them staying up the year before. But yeah, I think anyone that goes back will get a good reception, and yeah, hopefully I can go back and play in front of them again one day. And yeah, it's a nice relationship, I suppose, to have.
Yeah. Like we said, it was a fantastic promotion winning season. Was there a sense of, as you was obviously, going through the process of the playoffs and as you got promoted, was there a sense from all of the players that squad would end up getting broken up and you knew that you wouldn't be going on to, play in League One this season, or did that all come as a little bit of a surprise to you all, once promotion had been achieved?
Yeah, yes and no. I think you know when you've had success, you see it a lot of the times that teams do get ripped apart. Lads get opportunities that they wouldn't have got if they hadn't had a successful season. And I think we all really hope that we would get a chance to spend the season in League One together, to have a right crack again. And I think once you saw a couple of transfers happen, I think it probably had like a slight domino effect, really. Players speak, and I think when you can see, I suppose, the side being ripped apart, it probably them lads that were in our end probably thought, hang on a sec, what's going on here? And you probably end up losing a couple more. But listen, the way they had huge turnover the year before and it got success, and look at the way they've started now, it might happen again. So you can't fault the way they do it either. So I think good luck to them, and good luck to all the lads that did move on. And yeah, there's no hard feelings. It happens so much in football these days.
Yeah. We spoke about the recruitment at Crawley. Another massive piece of recruitment is the project where you are now at Swindon Town under your new manager Mark Kennedy. You guys have signed some fantastic players, a brand new squad. What's kind of the key? Because like I mentioned earlier on, you are seen as a senior player within the team, a leader within the team.
Yeah.
Because there are so many new players within that squad, how important is it to make sure that you develop a right culture early, and how do you kind of play your part in that, Will?
Yeah, it's really important, really. I think one of the match day squads, we had 17 new players just in the squad alone. Obviously, you've got players that are in the stands as well that are probably new, and it does take time. And we also as well documented with Mark's dad in the summer, unfortunately passing, that he was ill before as well. So Mark was travelling back to Ireland regularly to obviously be by his side, and then unfortunately he did pass. So he then spent more time in Ireland. So not only did we had a new playing squad, we had a new manager, new assistant, we had a new fitness coach, we had a new physio. So there's everything that was new, and it takes time to build those relationships. And when you haven't got your manager there for half a pre-season, when you're really getting down to the nitty-gritty of your how you're going to set up, how you're going to play, we found it really hard straight away, as seen with the results. And I think our performances over recent weeks have been building, and I think if you looked at how we played opening day of the season to how we're playing now, you wouldn't believe that that's happened over 5 games.
Yeah,
Normally that'd happen over the course of 6 months, I'd imagine. And
yeah,
it feels now that it's really starting to take shape, and um, even relationships off the pitch are building. Especially with a new group like that, you also need things in pre-season, like with us going out as a team. You need experiences like that bring the group closer, and you've got to build those relationships quickly. We probably need another night out. So if the manager is looking, he can give us some time to go out. That'd be nice, and we could build some more relationships and hopefully get more points. So hopefully that works in our favour. But yeah, hopefully over the season it will be similar to last year with Crawley for us this year, that you build quickly and you create some history.
yeah. I mean, you're uniquely positioned to be able to answer this question, Will, because obviously you've got the experience of getting out of this division last year, and
Mm.
you've seen what it takes. You've seen, what you've needed within the squad and within the culture of the team. How many similarities do you see within the Swindon Town squad where you are now, and how far off do you think you guys are from being able to achieve the same finish year?
Yeah, it's hard. I went to Crawley at the end of pre-season, so whereas this year I had the full pre-season. So in my eyes, we're probably, in terms of socially, we're probably ahead of where we were at Crawley. Obviously, we had a really good first month of the season on the pitch at Crawley. So I'd imagine in terms of on the pitch, we're slightly behind where we were at Crawley. But then um, you see it so many times where it's not who's top of the league for the first month. That doesn't win you. That doesn't win you anything. That doesn't even get you in
Yeah,
the playoffs. Really, if you look at Swindon and Gillingham last year, they were both 1 and 2 for the first month and a half, and neither of them got in the playoffs. Where you get Doncaster, who were 19th, but that's probably a one-off. We obviously don't want to be in a position where we're 19th and that far adrift, but you haven't
yeah,
you haven't got to come out the blocks really fast, although it helps. But it's a long old season. There's 46 league games. You throw in the cup competitions, you can end up playing 60 games a season, and it's a marathon. So
yeah.
yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you finish until the last game of the season. If you can be out of the playoffs, and if you finish in the playoffs for that last game, you've timed it well.
No, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I remember when I was living in South London, I had a season ticket at Millwall under Mick McCarthy, and
Yeah.
they were in a playoff position at Christmas, and it was a season where they ended up getting relegated. So,
Mhm.
like you
Yeah,
say,
well,
it's about that
even
timing, isn't
Barrow
it?
last year, Barrow,
Yeah,
they never stepped foot out of the playoffs, and then last game of the season, bang, out of the playoffs,
yeah, yeah.
and
That's
that's
right.
it. Season's done.
Yeah. Well, we've mentioned you've obviously picked up loads of experience throughout your career. You've played in all sorts of stadiums, large and small. What's been the toughest team and the toughest club that you've played against?
Oh, that's hard to say. I think in terms of sort of on the pitch, when we played Notts County away last year, we played them twice within a couple of weeks. When they started really well, and they were really moving the ball about, and we were very man for man. And I think I just stepped into midfield as well, um, so I found it extra hard, where they make the pitch so big, and we just couldn't quite. We were probably a yard or two off, and they can cut you right open. So I think in terms of games, they're probably the ones where I felt far away from it, or found it really difficult at times. Um, and then stadiums, I've not played at sort of many massive stadiums, so it's hard to really pick any out, I suppose.
Yeah. Has there been any intimidating atmospheres where the fans have really got on your back and like you've got off a pitch at the end of the game and thought, blimey, don't want to go back there again?
It's different. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm probably a bit weird in that sense that it gives me I don't know, it gives me an extra gear, I suppose. I'd imagine it's not going to be great for me to go back to Priestfield this year. I got some boos last year, and that was before I'd even scored, and that's probably why I gave him a little bit of my celebration as well. But now I'd imagine now that's happened, there's a bit more ammunition, and it um, probably won't be a nice atmosphere for me to go back to. But um, they probably don't realise that that's the kind of stuff that I thrive off. I like people. The more people in the stadium, the more people giving me abuse, kind of gives me, I don't know, an extra boost myself.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. I like it in golf. Most people don't like what people watching them take shots. Like you'll wave people past, and the more people watching me, the better I like to perform. So
Yeah.
the more people give me something, I always end up finding a way of getting getting something back on them, I suppose.
So Gills fans, bring it on. That's the message.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make a roll off my own back there either. Try and be
It's a
nice to
massive
me as
target
best you
now on
can.
you,
But
Will.
yeah, at the end of the day, if I give a bit and then you end up beating me, I'm not going to be bitter. I'll hold my hands up and say fair play. But
Yeah.
also know that if you give me, it's horses for courses.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of individuals that you've played against, who's been the trickiest player to come up against in your career so far?
Um, Good question. I struggled against. There's a little winger called Paul Smith that was I think it's Paul Smith was at Leighton Orient. When I played for Gillingham, he gave me a tough time out wide, little nippy winger, and obviously nippy winger is not ideal for me, who's not nippy and not a winger. So he gave me a tough time. Ivan Toney, very clever with his movement. Didn't really want to get involved in any of the game. Sort of stayed offside. So you're sort of looking around for him, and then as soon as it went wide, he's basically free in the 6 yard box, and you're like, hang on a sec, you're offside a minute ago, but now obviously you're not and he's just there for a free tap in. Although I think, well, he scored one against us, but found him hard. And then probably in our league, someone like Omar Bugil at Wimbledon is just game for everything. He's very all round. He's good in the air, good with the ball at feet, good runner, doesn't give up on anything, and he's someone that he can occupy a whole back three by himself. So those kind of strikers are tough to play against. So someone in our league, I'd say him.
Yeah, yeah. He's often said that the fans can be the 12th man. How important are they to you as a player, and how much can they help drive a team on this season?
Yeah, massively. It is huge. It is obviously everyone says it, but when you have moments where you do need a little lift, your legs are getting heavy, they do give you a little bit of a boost. But I've also experienced over my career where they can be a detriment as well. But that's just part and parcel of the game. I think when you're playing, you have kind of got to block out the noise. I think, but if you can use it in a positive way, then try and ride off their energy. And I think, we obviously need him in the ground, and we're going to need him again this season. So hopefully they can help us get over the line or finish games when we are struggling. And at the end of the day, we want to do well for them, and they want to see us do well. So you've got to be together, really, I think, to have success.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Well, Will, we're going to take a very quick break before coming back to asking you the signature from the club questions.
Traveling to a restrictive country with internet censorship? If you want to access your country's websites and content you love securely, a VPN is the answer. With just a few clicks, NordVPN changes your virtual location. You can enjoy your favorite websites and services securely, as if you're home. Choose from over 5,000 servers in 60 countries and surf the internet with no restrictions.
Well, as you know, as a business, we're all about selling official signed memorabilia, and you were very kind to sign us loads of cards when we come to see you pre-season. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, that was
all of these last few questions are memorabilia related. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Have you ever asked anyone for their autograph before?
Yeah. Yeah. I live as a kid. I remember John Terry come down to Rushden. His brother played for Rushden. We were training actually, and he landed. We had to move our training session out of the way for him to land a helicopter down. So there is a picture of me out there somewhere. I'm sure if my mum listens to this, she will dig it out, and you'll probably get a tweet or something from her. But there's a picture out there somewhere of me, long floppy hair with John Terry. So,
oh, that's amazing! Is his helicopter in the background?
No, he's in the stadium.
Oh, that's fantastic. Are you a memorabilia collector? I mean, do you have much memorabilia of your own? And if so, what's your favourite piece?
I try and keep a shirt from each season. They are hung up in my wardrobe at the moment. I'm not a massive one. If I was to swap shirts, I'd try and swap with someone that I know. I did get Podence's shirt when I played against Wolves, and madly to me, when I asked him, he said, "Let me have your shirt," and I thought, this is going to cost me 50 quid because I bet you don't have to pay for your shirt. I went, "You don't want mine," as a joke. He went, "No, I do," and I just sort of laughed, whatever. He went, "No, no, take your shirt off." Like, he took it off me. I was like, "What do you want it for?" He goes, "I collect them," and I was
Oh,
like,
I love that, mate.
"You ain't got Scooby who I am," but he took it. That cost me 50 quid. Um, my favorite, well, actually, my old man used to collect memorabilia, normally Liverpool memorabilia or England memorabilia. We got a games room at his house, so at my parents' house. So yeah, they've got some Gerrard, some Luis Suarez ones that I liked when I was growing up, and then obviously, well, I have my England C shirt. That's up in my house. My England C cap, my mum's got. And then now, obviously, I've got my playoff winning medal and shirt that I haven't framed yet, but needs to go up.
Yeah.
So I need to get that sorted.
Yeah, I love that. That Podence in his kitchen somewhere's got your shirt all framed up
Something like
at
that.
the breakfast bar.
Up in his
Yeah,
kid's bedroom or something. Yeah, I don't know.
it's quality, isn't it? Yeah. Nah, good stuff. Well, you got some very good stuff there, mate. If you could have anyone's autograph, dead or alive, who would you have and why?
Steven Gerrard.
Oh yeah.
Just I'm a Liverpool fan myself, Scouse, as you can tell. Just my favourite players when I was growing up. So I don't think I've ever met him. I don't remember meeting him. So yeah, he'd be the one that I'd like to meet and chew his ear off for a bit and then get his signature. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Will, mate, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed speaking to you this afternoon. Let us know any closing thoughts before we let you go, and also how people can follow you on social media.
Yeah, I mean, my social media is just Will Wright with either 2 T's or 3 T's on the end of it. Basically, whoever's got Will Wright with 1 T, I didn't get it, so I'll go for 2. And if he's got it, I'll go for 3. So either one of those, you'll find me. I think Instagram's 3 and I think Twitter's 2. I'm not overly active, to be honest, on socials, but if you want to find me, I'm on there. And no, nothing really. Just thanks for having me on. I hope people enjoyed the episode and they didn't fall asleep listening to me talking for too long. But yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Top man. Well, what we're going to do, Will, we're going to find your links to X and to Instagram, and we'll make sure that they're in the description below. So go and give Will a follow and say hello and ask him any questions that we forgot to ask him.
Yeah, I'll try and get back to you.
Yeah, Will, all the best, mate. Thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.